Okay, so hello everyone and welcome. We are live from from San Francisco, California area, and we're going to be having a bit of a Q&A with an American Buddhist monk. That's me, Bante Warapanyo. I've been a monk for the past 3 years or so, beginning in 2018. And as a monk, I travel and live at different monasteries, different temples, different places around the world, and teach meditation and learn meditation from people who are more experienced than me. So this event will be the opportunity, the moment for people to ask questions, and I will try to give a helpful answer. Don't expect too much, but I will do my best to give some good answers to the questions here. Okay. We also have a particular community that is hosting this event. And so they are the ones who will be asking questions. And then anyone else who tunes in here on the YouTube, you'll also be very invited to ask questions and get answers. All right. Make sure to let me know if the audio and video and everything is working properly. And we'll just give some time for people to join in. Hey there, Hoalu. Hope you're doing very well. Hope everything's going good with you. Welcome everyone joining the stage over on Discord. So when you join in, make sure to say hello and let me know that you're here. Hey there, Stephanie. I hope everything's going well with you. And see a few people here in the chat. Hi, WMD. Welcome everyone in the stage. If you are joining through the stage, make sure to raise your hand if you want to come up and ask a question. We might do one more thing here. Let's see. If there's any background noise, don't worry too much about it. There might be some background noise because we're here with a lot of people who are following the teacher right now, and so it's likely there will be a little bit of background noise. Okay. Yeah, you can type your question. You don't have to use audio. We're just getting started now. Hi there, Caesarial and Alerfical, Aiden. Welcome, everyone. We've had no questions yet, so we're definitely just at the beginning here. So you can type your question, or you can also raise your hand and come up to the stage and ask your question that way. All right. So we have a question here from ASYN, who says, could you share the best breathing pattern for meditation and calming the mind? Well, it's a similar answer to most questions about meditation. It's really finding your motivation, your intention, your sincerity to try doing it again and again and again. You know, there's not one particular method or one particular breathing pattern that's going to solve the puzzle. What's going to solve the puzzle of your suffering, of your difficulty, of your lacking in your life is continuously showing up to your life in a particular way, in a meditative way, in a contemplative way. So the best breathing pattern for doing that is to be with the breath and to allow focusing on the breath and being with the breath to be an avenue or a pathway to being with all aspects of your life, body, mind, social experiences, all this different kind of stuff. When we focus on the breath, when we become aware of the breath at this moment, we are stepping into the opportunity of being with whatever is happening, rather than adding to it, rather than trying to take away from it, but just being with what's happening right now. So what is the best breathing pattern to do? It is the way that you're breathing right now. That is the best breathing pattern to do, to be aware of how you're breathing now and to accept that fully and to be aware of that fully and completely. And we also do have a live streamed component of this. If you're just listening on the Discord, you can click the link and join on the YouTube as well, so you can see me talking into the microphone if that's something you're interested in. Okay, so a question here from Cade M. Cade M says, how to deal with feelings of despair, finding myself in a loop of self-pity. This question, once again, is going to bring up an answer that is valid for a lot of questions in this realm of suffering and difficulty and how we solve it. And that answer is to do good deeds. If you know that what you're doing right now doesn't work, you need to be willing to try something else, to experiment and find something that could work, that does work. And one thing that does work for sure is the activity of doing good deeds. So what does that mean? Cleaning your environment, cleaning a dish, trying to help someone else, trying to volunteer at an organization, trying to listen to something to bring benefit to you. Listen to something for the purpose of bringing benefit to your mind and your body. So you try to do something that is good, helpful, skillful, wholesome. It can be for yourself, but oftentimes we're so self-involved and so self-complicated with the image of ourselves and the story that we put ourselves into that it can be very difficult to do things that are good for ourselves because we have this complicated, conflicted relationship with ourselves. But if we practice to do good deeds for others, okay, volunteering at a homeless shelter or being generous, giving some kind of donation to this person or that person, or just calling up people you know and asking them, is there anything you can do to help? This kind of activity can really improve the peace of our mind and the stability of our situation, internally and externally. So that's what I recommend about that despair. Get out and do good deeds. Do things to benefit others. And when you find that it is possible to bring benefit to others, you will quickly understand through experience that you have the ability to bring benefit, you have the ability to help. And by acting out that ability, you can heal your suffering, you can improve the state of your mind, you can go from being hopeless and helpless to being healthy and wealthy. It's all according to the kind of deeds, the kind of activities that we are getting involved in. So if you find that you're in a state, a position of despair and misery, you better to try to do some good deeds. All right. So I hope everyone's following along here. Let's see. Do something real quick. Okay. So we're going to continue on with our Q&A. We're going to continue on with our live streamed event here. I hope that everyone can hear me clearly. I hope that everyone is doing well. Hello there, and welcome to anyone who's just joining in at this moment. Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me okay. I think the audio might be not in a good state for some people. One moment here. Sorry, everyone. Please be patient. Okay. So go ahead and write in the comments about the audio. If there's any audio issue on your end, I'd like to know about it. Okay, but we will continue on. Audio is fine for some people, so we'll see what happens here. All right. So another question here is struggling with suicidal thoughts. How can I overcome them and not be in a state of depression or difficulty with that? So if you have a lot of suicidal thoughts, or if you have a lot of really deep suffering in your life, as I said before, you need to understand that what you've been doing doesn't work. The activities that you've been involved with are not helping to heal and to deal with your suffering in a meaningful way. So as you recognize that, as you accept that, you need to start being open to learning from other people. You need to start being in a position to explore different avenues for how you relate to yourself, your mind, your body, and the world. And what we need to understand is that if we have a addiction, or if we have a strong habit of doing activities and consuming content that is not helpful for us, that is not healing to us, the content or the wisdom, the information that is beneficial to us is not necessarily going to be something that tastes like candy. Because what tastes sweet to us is not the medicine that we need. So we have to be willing to try new experiences and new avenues for dealing with suffering, for dealing with our difficulty and our confusion, our ignorance. Okay. Hey there, Sela. Welcome. Glad that you're here. We've got some more questions over on the Discord. Right. How was my day? How am I feeling? I'm feeling healthy and wealthy today. Um, okay, someone asked a question about what's the ideal way to breathe when you run. Just keep breathing. Otherwise, running is going to be very difficult very quickly. So just keep breathing. Um, how do I make a living as a monk? Through merit, through doing good deeds. So, what I eat, where I sleep, what I use, my phone, computer, everything is through the merit making process. So, through doing good deeds, through focusing on goodness and virtue and meditation, being a good person, people support me to do that. You know, they want me to be empowered to spread Buddhism, to share about meditation, to help other people. And so the way that I support myself or make a living as a monk is by doing good deeds and practicing detachment. And as a monk, it's the responsibility to detach from seeking material pleasure so that we learn to accept what we have. You know, we learn to be content and grateful with what we have. You can only do that in the present moment. You can't do it as a belief. You can't do it as a philosophy. To be content, to be grateful, it has to be with what you have at this moment, your lived experience right now. So, in that way, still, we make a living through doing good deeds so that even if we have nothing, we have goodness. And goodness, of course, is a real source of peace, happiness, joy. Okay? So, goodness is the fertile soil for happiness to grow. And if we aren't prioritizing goodness, if we aren't prioritizing virtue, the journey of self improvement and self development is going to be a desert, a wasteland. And only very few seeds and plants of well being and happiness are going to be able to grow, if any. Okay, so I make a living as a monk by prioritizing goodness, virtue. And what goes into that is self control as well. Okay, so we have more questions coming through. I can see. Um, Keep in mind that we're also live streaming on YouTube. So if you like to see me in my natural environment, you can go to the YouTube stream and you can see. You can take a look. So we have another thought here about how to be less impulsive. I often act before thinking and regret my decision. Well, you've got your answer right there. We act less impulsively by being strongly aware, vividly aware of where impulsiveness gets us. And you put in your question where impulsiveness gets you to a feeling of regret. So, how can we be less impulsive? By learning to be patient and by learning to do nothing. There's a great goodness, there's a great safety, there's a great protection in not doing anything and being able to not do anything well. This is kind of the practice of meditation, to get out of our own way, to just sit, to just breathe, to just be aware. Rather than doing something, we participate in the act of being. So, this is a really essential practice for someone who's learning to detach from impulsiveness. Learn how to be. Learn how to be present with what's happening right now rather than always trying to change it or get involved with it some way. You don't need to get involved with it. You just need to detach. You just need to settle. Just need to breathe and be aware. You don't even need to do that, but you'll die if you don't. So that's what I will say about impulsiveness. Okay? So we have a question here from Alerfika. Alerfika says, what are your thoughts on the belief of the human mind being driven by pain and pleasure? Do you believe that people can reassociate their bad habits with pain and not pleasure, so they can reassociate good habits with pleasure? I think that's a little bit too intellectual for me. Try to do good deeds. Try to do things that benefit other people, and try to do things that benefit your environment. Okay? That's what I recommend. Pain is painful, pleasure is pleasurable. You don't need to make a philosophy about it. Instead, I recommend that you prioritize doing good deeds, being helpful to others, being kind to others, being kind to yourself. And naturally, over time, if you do a lot of good deeds, you find that there's a great joy in detaching from pain and pleasure, in experiencing pain, experiencing pleasure, but continuously to do good deeds, to bring benefit to yourself, to bring benefit to others. Okay? Goblin says, is it normal to see shapes and waves when you meditate? It's normal to see the Buddha. It's normal to see the King of Kings. It's normal to see heaven and hell and the devil and Jesus and a war again, to the end of the world. It's easy to see Tom Cruise. It doesn't matter what you see in meditation. The practice of meditation is to detach. The practice of meditation is to breathe and be aware of what's happening at this moment. And this moment is constantly changing, constantly evolving, all the time. All the time. So when we say to be aware of what's happening at this moment, it's in no way vague. It's completely inclusive. It's completely accessible. It's just finding your intention, your motivation to do that and to try and to do that consistently. One of the best ways to develop that motivation is to do good deeds. Ideally without expectation, but even if you have some expectation, that's also okay. Still, the more good deeds we do, the more good seeds we sow, the more good effects we will have. But we should focus on the causes. We should focus on the actions of doing good deeds rather than looking for the effects. The effects aren't really important. It's just to do good deeds more and more. Okay, so Samantha says, how do you stick to positive changes in one's life? How do we stay on track in doing things which better our lives? Is to start right now. You have to detach from the good effects of your good actions, because we don't know when bad effects are going to come up. We don't know when the house we're in is going to erupt into fire. I mean, anything can happen at any moment. So we have to detach from the effects of our good deeds, just like I was saying before. And we have to practice to put forth effort in whatever situation we're in whatever moment that we come into awareness, when we're no longer zombified, when our eyes are not closed and we're not asleep or we're not drunk or whatever. But at that moment when you become aware and you become awake, aware of the past, it doesn't matter what you're aware of, but you're aware, at that moment you practice, you put forth effort to bring benefit to yourself, to others, to the environment at this moment. And you detach from the past actions, you detach from the effects you're feeling now and the future effects that are coming, and you just to do it. And that just to do it starts with a foundation of being willing to refresh and restart at any given moment. Doesn't matter where in the web browser you are. Doesn't matter what page you're on. Doesn't matter what video you're watching. To refresh and restart at that moment, and to begin that practice, that process of doing good deeds more and more. Okay? All right. So YouTube questions are answered. Let's see who else we have here. Okay, how to be more focused, do more good deeds. Try to find a way to benefit other people. That's going to help you focus a lot. Volunteer at a homeless shelter. Do something where you are not the important one. Do something where it's not about all of you. The Minuteman says 2 questions. Has self-realization been a goal in your path so far? What advanced literature can you recommend for those who are already on the path? There, there's not much importance to a self or to realizing anything. The importance is to be aware of what's happening right now. And from that place of awareness, that balance on the surfboard of your life, to ride the wave of doing good deeds. That's what's important. Self-realization, becoming an arahat, becoming enlightened, becoming a special person. This is all nonsense. This is all ego nonsense. It's just a game to play. What advanced literature can you recommend for those who are already on the path? Your mind is the advanced literature. To be aware of your mind, to be aware of your thoughts, to be aware of your body at this moment. That is the most advanced literature. And the more that you can do that, the more that you will be skillful in finding wisdom in anything that you read. Okay? But for a Western mind, we tend to be really intellectual and we tend to be really privileged, right? A modern people, we're very intellectual and we're very privileged. So advanced literature and advanced theories are not so important. It's more that you need to find, like I said, an avenue to put yourself down, not to focus on self-realization, but to focus on the realization of doing good deeds continuously, moment by moment. Okay? This is the practice of being a monk. This is the practice of being a yogi or someone who's on the spiritual path for sure, is to do good deeds continuously. So that's what I have to say about that. AYSN says, how can energy reflect on a person, and is there any way you go about switching your energy? Energy reflecting, switching your energy, throw it in the trash. Do good deeds, be kind, be simple. And if you have a difficulty, refresh and restart. Begin again at this moment. And it's really a process. It's really a way that you have to show up to your life again and again and to try to detach from whatever intellectual structure that you've built for yourself. Okay? What's energy? What is energy reflecting on a person? What is switching your energy? And it's there might be some helpfulness, there might be some wisdom in this question and in finding an answer to that question, but it speaks from a place of not being grounded, right? Not speaking clearly. So we have to focus in that case to simplify and stabilize the mind. That's the path of enlightenment. That's the path of being a heavy hitter. That's the path of going up to the plate and being fourth at bat, because the first three, they might get on the plate. The fourth at bat, you need to have a heavy hitter there. You need to have somebody who's known to swing those home runs. And if you want to do that, if you want to become that person, if you want to become, within this context of this discord, an Adonis or a high-level practitioner of skillfulness, of wisdom, of basedness, of chillness, simplify and stabilize the mind. That's what the whole path is about. There's nothing more attractive, there's nothing more endearing, there's nothing more empowered than a simplified and stabilized mind. It's a very valuable skill that most people don't have. So instead of worrying about energy shields or energy reflections or switching energies, focus to stabilize and simplify your mind through the act of doing good deeds continuously. So, from Keat, we have a question. How can we deal with a toxic mother as someone who's fatherless? We have to really have compassion for these people, because even to be able to say that, how can I deal with it? It's a mind that's looking to respond. It's not of reacting, right? You have good enough conditions, you have a good enough state of your body and mind to question, how can I respond to this situation? How can I take care of this situation rather than just reacting to it? So just in that, it's kind of nice that you have that opportunity. And in dealing with a toxic person, primarily you need to understand that they are quote unquote toxic because they are suffering, because they are going through great difficulty, great confusion. That's why people act that way. That is why people cause other people to suffer, because they are suffering. You are not them. You couldn't experience their body, you couldn't experience their mind. So it's very easy to fall under the trap that, oh, this person is just arrogant and nasty and foolish, and they're basically not a human. They're some kind of animal or insane person. But actually, they're acting that way because they're suffering and they're confused and they're lost and they're hurt, right? So we practice to take a step back from any situation, especially intensive social situations. First of all, you just take a step back, you detach from your reactivity to that situation, and then you consider, you recognize where you are, which is not that person and not who that person thinks you are, and not you're not defined by your relationship with that person, for sure. So you take that step back, you find your own footing, and then you consider, how can I help to take care of this situation? How can I care for this person in a kind way, in a sincere way, and also in a way that takes care of me as well. So that's how I would recommend to approach it, and yeah, be compassionate, and don't be too judgmental to them, because for you to have that ability to say, how can I take care of this, or how can I react to this, that person probably doesn't have that ability, right? To say, how can I deal with this? How can I take care of this? They're just in a constant state of reactivity. Um, so find your grounding and consider how you can help that person, and in the process, help yourself. So John Sawyer says, this is a good question. For someone new to Buddhism, how do you define doing good deeds? So how can we define doing good deeds? It's a good question. Maybe asking that question is a good deed. So anything that involves putting down ourself, putting down our self-focus, putting down our self-fixation, anything that involves that is going to be a good deed, for sure. Anything that involves to be detached, anything that involves to be gentle, to be patient, to be kind, to be generous, to be forgiving, you can say is a good deed. So it's really not so complicated. We, as a modern people, we want to intellectualize everything. We want to conceptualize everything constantly. Doing good deed just means exactly what it says. It's doing good deeds. And you will answer that question of, what defines a good deed, not by thinking about it, but by beginning the process, stepping into the role, putting the car in drive of doing good deeds. The easiest way, the most accessible way, is generosity, is dana. So you see a person who needs it, you donate to them. You see a person who you believe in and you want to support them, you donate to them. You see a person on the street and clearly they're in poverty, you donate to them. This process of donating is to let go of self-fixation and also to transfer merit. So to transfer the effect of doing good deeds in this life or past lives, meaning this moment or past moments. So be kind, be gentle, and do good deeds, and then you will find that answer for yourself about what is a good deed. So try it out, and let's know about your answer, John, when you do some experimenting. So N. Hannon says, and hi there, N. Hannon, I'm glad you're here. Can you speak on psychedelics and Buddhism, loving kindness, and practicing loving awareness? Or are they personally irrelevant to you? No, they're very relevant to me. So psychedelics are understood by modern medicine and progressive minded people. Psychedelics are understood to be medicines, can be used as medicines in a clinical setting. Is it a medicine inherently? No, but it's something that can be used as a medicine. Um, in terms of how that relates to Buddhism, it relates to Buddhism in as much as it empowers you to take up the responsibility and the practice of doing good deeds and practicing mindfulness, practicing detachment. It's relevant as far as it inspires you. Not you can if you attach to it or you rely on it, then it's not related to Buddhism at all. But as much as it supports you to develop loving kindness towards yourself consistently, regularly, without relying on that substance, that's how it relates to Buddhism. But we're kind of, we're locked in a room our whole lives, right? You're not going to go to another body. You're not going to get out of here. The Someone said the way out is in, for sure. So if the way out is in, that's where you need to have a wholesome, loving, kind, gentle relationship. It's where it's most important, is in. And in the same way that with a loved one or a child or a partner or a parent, whoever it is, that the foundation of a healthy relationship with those people is kindness, patience, kindness, friendliness. In the same way, that is what is essential to be the foundation of the relationship that we have with ourselves if we want to have a healthy path moving forward, a wholesome, simple path moving forward. So loving kindness and focusing on that is really important in the journey of self-improvement or non-self-improvement. Okay. So we have another question here on the YouTube. Om says, how can we let go of the world if we find ourselves doing so much? I'll do without holding on to the idea of you or the world. So just lose yourself in doing. Allow doing that activity to be a way of detaching from your ideas about the world and your ideas about yourself. So just in drinking this tea here, right, I can put the whole world down. It's not so complicated. But you have to do that consistently and to focus on doing good deeds. You shouldn't just be doing whatever all the time. You should try to do things that benefit others or benefit yourself. Okay, so we'll take another question here. Um, let's see. How to be less hateful. Recognize the suffering that hate brings and detach from being hateful. Recognize that being hateful is not a skillful activity, it's not a helpful activity. It's not something that brings benefit to you or to other people. So when it comes up, don't be so entrenched by it. Don't be so enchanted by hate. It's easy to be enchanted by hate because we feel powerful, we feel righteous, we feel, so much self excitement when we feel hate or any strong emotion. But actually, we really recognize, we really know that hate is not helpful, not skillful. It doesn't lead to health, it doesn't lead to wealth. It's just horrible. So when it arises, recognize that it's unskillful and take strong steps back from it. Be aware of it, don't feed it, and don't fetishize it. A lot of people fetishize this hate state, to be in a state of hate and to be empowered and righteous and in a state of self belief is not particularly good, right? So try to try to detach from hate by recognizing the unskillful effects that come from it. What is your opinion on short-term pleasures? Exactly that. They're short-term. And for animals, they couldn't make the distinction that something feels good but is not good for them or for their community, right? We know that distinction. We can make it easily. So use the sword of understanding that just because something is good for me does not, just because something is feeling good doesn't mean that it's good for me. And then be very careful about those activities that feel good. Many of them are the worst things that can be imagined, things that feel good for you, for yourself. So there's nothing inherently holy or good or virtuous. There's nothing high-minded about something just because it's pleasurable. And it's easy to get into this trap of fixation on sensuality that doesn't really bring any benefit into our lives. But if you are stuck in a certain bubble of materialism, you really think that the only development that you can have in your life is maybe to have more money or a better car or a better sexual relationship, sensual relationship, whatever it is. But that's so shallow. And even those people who have so much wealth and so much power, they also have so much suffering. And of course, most people are never going to get anywhere near. Even if you got to the highest peak, most people are not going to. But those people also have a deep suffering, deep confusion. It doesn't work. Whereas when we get involved in the cultivation of virtue, when we get involved in the cultivation of doing good deeds, these are the kind of seeds that can totally transform our state of mind and the state of our lives in a big, big way. And primarily, they can deal with the problem of suffering. They can deal with the problem of misery, of despair, of depression, of anxiety, all of these forms of suffering. Doing good deeds, cultivating virtuous seeds of wholesome activities, um, this can develop spiritual wealth rather than material wealth. And spiritual wealth is much, much deeper. That is deep states of peace, deep states of happiness, deep states of healthy, sustainable social relationships. So, like I said, we're locked in a room for our whole life. And material wealth can just kind of distract us from the room that we're locked in. But if we go in, which material things cannot help us to go in. If we go in, we can find liberation from the room that we're locked in. We can find that locked in this room is actually the key to freedom, peace, totally. So you couldn't really get so much from outside, but from inside you can get a lot. And doing good deeds supports us to have a internal and external relationship with what's happening that is stable and buoyant. That is, that we are not trapped by pleasurable experiences and we're not weighted down by unpleasant, painful experiences, but we're just continuously to restart and refresh, to begin again, to do more and more good deeds, to do more and more wholesome activities, and to have more and more peace in our lives. So short-term pleasures don't really support us in that, so we shouldn't fetishize them. Sure, you can enjoy things, but don't take it too far. Don't get in a fight with someone because they don't make tea the way you like it. That's crazy. Don't cultivate, disgust towards someone because they couldn't make a good cup of coffee. So what? It doesn't matter. Be playful with these sensual desires. If you can learn to be playful and detached with sensual desires, guess what? You can learn to be playful and detached to pain and aversion and difficulty. Okay. All right. So how do I train myself to reject instant gratification? You don't you don't train yourself to reject instant gratification, and you definitely don't punish yourself when you make mistakes. You have to detach from rejection, and you have to detach from instant gratification. That is, that you need to accept that you aren't in control of your life. You aren't in control of your body. You aren't in control of your mind. And the only reason you feel to be in control is because there are certain causes and conditions that are coming up right now that put you in a position to feel that way. If those causes and conditions change, which they can instantly, right? You will not have any control, and you become confused and destabilized and all this, right? So if you are trying to reject your experiences, you're going to be trapped by rejection. If you try to get rid of instant gratification, you're going to be trapped by instant gratification. Okay? So you practice to be aware of what's happening right now. And from a place of being aware of what's happening right now, rather than focusing on yourself more and more, what can I get? What can I do? Try to do good deeds. Try to sweep. Try to think about someone who you can help. Try to think about something you can do that is helpful for the environment. Try to donate what you have. Okay? Try to give up your sense of self, because that's why you are in a state of conflict and stress and confusion, because you are attached to this idea of a self that isn't really solid, isn't really continuous, just feels that way. Okay. So don't reject anything. Don't punish yourself. There's enough suffering. You don't need to add to it. And don't be too worried about instant gratification. Be more focused on helping other people to be at peace, helping the environment to be calm and stable, helping your mind to be calm and stable at this moment. All right. So we'll go to CKA. Says there are many types of Buddhism, and within them various schools and traditions. Is it best to simply gain knowledge on your own, or should you focus on finding your niche? You should focus on practice. So that is either the practice of goodness or the practice of meditation, one or the other. The philosophy of Buddhism and the religious schools of Buddhism are not necessarily a substitute for the practice of Buddhism. So, in searching around and looking at different types of Buddhism, as soon as you find one that can give you the support to practice, to put into practice whatever they happen to be talking about, that's what you are to do. And then over time, as you cultivate more goodness, as you practice more meditation, then you can explore in a more wise way other traditions and other beliefs. But you have to, as I was saying earlier, simplify and stabilize the mind. How can you do that? By acts of generosity, by doing good deeds, by practicing mindfulness, to be aware of what's happening right now. So none of that is very religious or conceptual or philosophical, and you don't need to struggle or to fight to calm and stabilize the mind. You need to stop fighting and complicating. One of the best ways to do that is to be generous, to be kind, to be patient, to be gentle, to do something for someone else. Do something for someone else. Okay, so Perilous Nebula says, I have a significant traumas in my past. With that, I feel better when I try to do good at all times. But it is not balanced, and it comes with despair if I don't meet my kindness expectations. Do you, do you have any suggestions for doing better, finding balance with doing good, without sacrificing my own needs or feeling stress when I feel I've failed? There's not really any failure in this. It's more that at this moment, you start to be aware of what's really happening right now. You start to be okay with what's really happening right now, to be aware of it. So there's a body, there's physical sensations, you might have a thought. You might have a thought of judgment. You might have a thought of not meeting your own expectations. Whatever you happen to be having right now as your experience, you just accept it. You feel despair, you just accept it. You feel you failed, you just accept it. You don't need to self-identify with failure. You don't need to self-identify with your expectations. Failure is just failure. Expectations are just expectations. You can continuously be aware. You can be aware of the breath. You can be aware of the body. And just to notice moment by moment. And that noticing is to refresh and restart at this present time, to start again. Just in the same way that if a meteor hits Earth, which it could at any moment, right? That's the truth. And I find this very interesting that we have such a strong feeling and idea that that's not the truth. We really feel that there's some kind of solidity to the earth, to our body, to the home that we're in. We're so fixated in a state of, we're so enchanted by this feeling, this idea that we are solid and the experience that we're having right now is solid, right? And that it can change, it could change, but that's not actually going to, right? Whereas actually the complete opposite is true. So it's very strange. At any moment, your entire body can dissolve. At any moment, you can break your leg or have a stroke, or, your entire experience of life can change at any given moment, for sure. So in that way, we don't have to take ourselves so seriously. We don't have to give so much focus and so much energy to this real, true self, this solid object of selfishness that we imagine, our story and our past and our future and who we really are and who we really want to be and who we really could become. It's all, kind of nonsense. This moment, to be aware of what's happening right now, is to be aware of the truth, to develop a relationship with the truth. What is the truth? We should ask that question deeply, not through our intellectual thinking, but through a sense of looking deeply, introspection, contemplation, looking into our experience. Okay, we go now to Sport Thomas Morgan says, I'm about to leave a retreat where I've been maintaining the 8 precepts and focused on practice. I keep thinking about the pleasurable things I have denied myself, entertainment, brownies, and ice cream. How do I handle these thoughts? Well, eating a bunch of ice cream is horrible. Eating a bunch of brownies is horrible. It's disgusting. When you haven't done it, right? When you haven't consumed a lot of entertainment, it seems, oh wow, this is going to be so great, this is going to be so nice. But once you finish that pizza, once you finish that meal, you don't want to eat anything. Any food, even the most delicious, perfect dish that you can imagine by the highest quality chef, is not going to be appealing. So, yeah, we know that we like that it's pleasurable, but we also easily have this ability to detach from this false thinking that it's somehow really satisfying. It's not really satisfying. It's okay. You can enjoy it. You can appreciate it, but you don't need to fetishize it. And when you get out of your retreat, yeah, you can have some ice cream, you can have some brownies, you can watch some entertainment, but just to relax. Don't hype it up too much, because it's not going to meet the hype, and you already know in the end it's not completely fulfilling. So stay with the breath, simple mind, open heart, body and mind at this moment, not so complicated. Okay, so Wet Sock says, I'm not religious, but I am open to Buddhism. What is a simple way I can start? Simple way you can start is to pick up the book, No Mud, No Lotus, The Art of Transforming Suffering. Okay, this is a great book. It's not a religious book. Um, it's just an introduction to Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist practice, Buddhist perspective. And it's by Thich Nhat Hanh, who recently passed away, an amazing Buddhist teacher and peace author, world leader, Nobel Peace Prize nominee, just an amazing teacher. So pick up that book if you really want to take a look at Buddhism and meditation. Um, and it's a very simple book also. It's very accessible. It's not complicated. The book is called No Mud, No Lotus, The Art of Transforming... Oh, I forgot the last word there. The Art of Transforming Suffering. Typed it down. Okay, so yeah, we shouldn't be violent. We should try to be kind. And of course, violence is the easy response. Violence is the weak response. To really take care of a situation, violence is never really the answer, right? And it's easy to be violent. It's difficult to be nonviolent. So more people do what is easier just because it's easier, but we should try to do what is more difficult, because what is more difficult has more possibilities for success, whereas what is easy has few possibilities for success. That is success to let go of the self. All right. So we'll move on. I hope that was helpful, Morgan. We'll move on to how should we spend our time reading books, meditating. We should spend our time to do good deeds. We should find an avenue to volunteer. We should find an avenue to help. We should find an avenue not only to meditate for ourselves, but to meditate for all, to meditate in community, to support other people to practice meditation. We really need to start getting involved. And the truth is that the brain, the human brain, is so big, not because we are no animal really lives in solitary, right? We're a part of a community. We're a part of an environment. But human beings, especially, are community beings. We're humans, not animals, but community beings. We have to be in community. And so when we do things only for ourselves, it's extremely limited in terms of our ability, in terms of how successful we can be, in terms of how much it can change our mind and our state of mind, state of body, if we do only for ourselves. When we do for all, when we do for others, there's much more possibility. So we have to find a way to do good deeds, not only for ourselves, but for all, in community, more and more. So try to find that avenue in your life. Try to volunteer at a homeless shelter. You can come and stay in Tabarwa, LA. We're looking at starting a new meditation center in the San Francisco area, so you could also possibly stay there. But just find a way to do good deeds in your life, okay? Not just for yourself, but for all. And that's what I recommend you spend your time on. What is my opinion on music? It's not particularly helpful. It can be supportive, but it's not really all that great music from my experience. But if you just listen to music every now and again, I think it's not too bad. But if you are listening to music all the time, some people develop this habit. That's really not good. You shouldn't be doing that. They listen to music when they wake up, when they're driving, when they're at work, when they drive home. It's really too much. It's not healthy for the mind to be constantly in this trance, constantly enchanted by the rhythm and the jig and the jive. It's too much. And it really kind of indoctrinates our minds. The state of simplicity, peace, awareness is really powerful. And it's something that we can apply to any situation, any time. Whereas the state of listening to music is so conditional and it's so limited in terms of its use. So we want to be practical in our lives. Right? We want to be practical in our lives. Does meditating a lot helps you get into a state of flow? It can. It can help you to feel a flowing kind of state. But also doing good deeds can help that. When you're really doing something, not just for the benefit of yourselves, but for the benefit of others, there's a certain kind of inspiration and empowerment that goes with that. So we should find a way to fall into the flow state of doing good deeds. How to deal with nightmares, persistent thoughts, subconscious mind, do good deeds, cultivate loving kindness, listen to talks from powerful spiritual teachers such as Ajahn Brahm, Thich Nhat Hanh, Sharon Salzberg. There's a group, Clear Mountain Monastery, as well. There's very good talks. If you know that your own mind is sick, unskillful, not really very good, right, at health and wealth and peace and happiness and joy, right? You know that your own mind is not really skillful at that. You need to connect with, you need to listen to people whose mind is skillful in that way. Then it will impact your mind. And at least, even if you don't change a lot from listening to them, at least you know that there are these kinds of people in the world, and it can help you to relax, relieve that tension of, I'm suffering so much and everyone's horrible and everything's suffering. It's not really the case. There are really wonderful, peaceful, empowered, wise people in the world. When you listen to their talks, people like Ajahn Brahm, Thich Nhat Hanh, it helps to calm and alleviate and relax that tension, that suffering in the mind. So you bring a good friend into the mental phenomena. Listen to a Dharma talk, listen to a meditation talk. It's a good idea. Elizabeth the Pat says, I feel like there's a stereotype that a lot of Buddhist monks don't use technology a lot. What do you think about this in this modern world where computers surround us, where we're forced to work in conditions where we have to look at a computer in a 9-to-5 job in order to survive and provide for our families? Is there any way you can avoid technology to be in the present moment without being behind in life? You don't need to avoid technology. It just is what it is. It's just a tool. It's your mind. It's how you relate to it. So if you are a 9-to-5 job in front of a computer every day, bring mindfulness into your life. bring awareness of your body into your life. Prioritize it. So once an hour, set an alarm on your smartwatch or set an alarm on your phone that once an hour for a minute, for 30 seconds, doesn't matter how long it is, you sit, take a deep breath, and be aware of the body. You have a body. It's very important to you. But how often do you completely disregard it and let your entire mind go into a computer screen? Your entire presence and awareness leaves your body. So naturally, you're going to have some ill effects from that because you are disregarding, you are ignoring something that is so essential, so precious to you. You just completely forget about it and then you come back to it. Of course, you're going to be discombobulated. You're going to be unstable. You're going to be confused because you've neglected something that is absolutely precious and essential to you. And you've just kind of left it on the ground like a empty like an empty Mountain Dew can, like a dried up McDonald's fry. You've just left it to rot and to sit, right? You've neglected it. Instead, understand that this body is more precious to you than a bar of gold. Far, far, far more precious to you than a bar of gold. This breath is like breathing gold. So you don't go to, a local park and put down a bar of gold and then walk away from it. And this bar of gold you bring with you everywhere. So you have to be aware of it. You have to take care of it everywhere. And a bar of gold doesn't even really get to it. It's a bag of diamonds. It's, we can we understand what I'm talking about, but our body is much more precious to us than gold. $1 million. Our body is much more precious to us than that. So we need to be aware of it. We need to take care of it. We need to keep after it moment by moment, breath by breath in our daily life. And in the same way that gold is a source of wealth, awareness of our body is a source of wealth, a source of peace, a source of contentment, a source of comfort. So be willing to be aware of your body in any situation, at any time. Doesn't matter if you're in front of a computer screen or you're somewhere else. Doesn't matter. Okay? So, Frizzy says, I know to not put people down, but is there a way to correct behavior whilst lifting others up? It's very difficult. You have to try and be kind. You have to try and be patient because the main barrier in doing this is your self-consciousness, right? You want to tear them down or you want to criticize them, but you're also uncomfortable with being face to face with them, center to center with them. So there is a technique that I can recommend for doing this. Um, if you're not a Buddhist, then it's not going to work so well. But in Buddhism, we have this bodhisattva, this kind of archetype of compassion. It's like a Jungian archetype. It's an embodied Jungian archetype of compassion, and that is Guanyin Pusa. So if you ever want to criticize someone or if you ever want to correct someone's behavior, do it in a way of facing them face to face and sharing about your experience, okay? And you have to be very humble and almost selfless to do that. It's very difficult to talk with people about correcting their behavior. But before you do that, you can chant 10 times, Namo Guanyin Pusa, Namo Guanyin Pusa, Namo Guanyin Pusa, Namo Guanyin Pusa. Chanting Namo Guanyin Pusa basically means that you are invoking compassion. You are invoking loving kindness. You are invoking a spirit of doing something from a compassionate place of wishing to relieve suffering, to end suffering, not to criticize, not to blame, not to shame, not to correct the behavior because what you think they're doing is wrong, but because you feel that your perspective, your experience, sharing with them can be helpful. So if you can't chant Namo Guanyin Pusa, you can chant, may I be kind. May I say this kindly. May it be heard kindly. May I say this kindly, may it be heard kindly. You can do it like that. And kindness and patience and gentleness and having an open heart and having a soft heart, these things are all so rare and so valuable in modern society. So there's no debate about the preciousness of kindness, gentleness, patience, forgiveness. We just need more and more of it. And it's not passivity. It's more difficult than being aggressive. It's more difficult than being judgmental. It's more difficult than being masculine, right? It's not it's beyond masculine and feminine, but it's more difficult. You know, people say you're talking about being kind. That's submissive. I'm not going to be submissive to somebody. It's not being submissive. It's being willing to take care of a situation without only focusing on you. So to put down you and share because you feel that it will bring benefit to others. And to really do that is very difficult. Very few people in the world can do that. But we can train ourselves, we can practice, we can experiment with it and try to understand that the failures that we have in acting this way, the failures that we have in wholesomeness, goodness, kindness, these are the stepping stones for us to improve. That's it. So you don't beat yourself up about it. You don't get into a big confusion, a big psychological mess about the fact that you made a mistake or that you weren't skillful in a given situation. You just recognize it deeply. You're willing to look at it and know that that was unskillful, or maybe not. Maybe not that it was unskillful, but that you're not super happy with the effect that that had. And so next time you want to bring more awareness and attention to how you deal with a similar situation when that comes up. Okay, so this is really a powerful way to learn um, how to become more embodied in our social relationships, especially when it comes to correcting someone else's behavior. Okay, Om says, how do we let go of controlling our thoughts, reacting to our thoughts, and so on? How can we become invincible to thoughts? By doing good deeds. Okay, you should be so focused on doing good deeds. You should be so focused on finding a way to bring benefit to yourself and to other, and doing that. You know, you need to find an avenue for doing that, that you don't care about thoughts. You don't need to be invincible to thoughts because you're not involved with them. You're involved in the practice of doing good deeds. You're involved in the practice of being aware of what's happening right now, moment by moment. So you didn't have time to be involved with complicated thinking. And when you notice that complicated thinking starts to arise, that is your time. That is the opportunity to switch, to restart, to refresh, and to do good deeds. You know, so it can be meditation, it can be going for a walk, whatever it is that is not totally self-focused, self-transfixed, self-enchanted. And our thoughts tend to be very self-enchanted, right? Totally focused on ourselves. So be uninterested in thinking. Don't be so self-identified with it. Okay, Alvi says, are there any other ways to effectively practice spirituality besides meditation practice? Sure, there are. One of the strongest ones, one of the major ones is dana, is donations. So you make a donation to a teacher. You make a donation to a center. You make a donation to someone who is in need. You give up, you let go. Whatever you're holding on to, whether it's money or property or whatever it is, you donate it, you give it up, you let it go. A good way to understand this, the effectiveness of this, and it's a deep thing to do. It's not just a surface level of like, okay, you know, I this person wants me to donate to them, or we should be kind, or we should try to help each other. It's much deeper than that. And this analogy can kind of point to that. So imagine if you have a wallet or you have a purse, right? And inside that purse, you have a good amount of money. Not, let's say, not an extreme amount, not all your money, but you have a good chunk of money that can be used for things that you like, etc., etc. If you lose that money that you're holding on to, that you're carrying around with you, right? If you lose that money, how do you feel? You feel angry. You feel confused. You feel upset. You feel suspicious. You feel regret. You feel shame. You feel to blame other people. Maybe they stole it. Maybe, and who knows what happened to it, but you lost it, right? You lost what you were hanging on to. You feel very, very upset about it, distressed, distraught, because you've lost what you've been holding on to. You lost this money in your wallet, right? Now, think about if you used that money, that which is precious to you, to give away, to help someone else, to share, to give up, to offer, right? Well, you feel happy about it. When you think about, oh, I'm going to use this money to give to someone I care about or to someone who needs it, you feel good about it, right? You feel almost a sense of pride. When you do it, that person feels happy. You feel happy. You feel secure. That person feels secure. There's this transfer, this generation and transfer of merit, of goodness, of good effect that happens when we donate, when we offer. Okay. Now, when we look back on it, right now we're on the future. When we look back at how we used that money, we used what is precious to us and we gave it up in that sense of dana. Oh my goodness, we feel so happy about it. And that person feels happy and it's lovely. Whereas when it comes to that loss, right, we feel negative, we feel shame, we feel angry, someone stole from us, all this. So we don't need to become a meditator to have a spiritual practice or to walk on a spiritual path. In fact, we can practice to do good deeds. We can practice to support people who are doing good deeds. We can practice to support those who are in need. And in that way, we walk the spiritual path. We can also listen to Dharma talks like this. People like Ajahn Brahm, Thich Nhat Hanh, we can listen to those talks when we're driving to work, when we're coming back from work. And this is much more skillful. This is much more skillful than just listening to music or kind of distracting ourselves when we're doing things, right? We listen to a talk from a wise person. It's much better use of our time. We don't need to meditate to do any of that. Okay, so we have a question here from Edgar and Goblin. Edgar says, what are your thoughts on lucid dreaming and what thoughts do you have on consciousness? What is consciousness? And lucid dreaming, what is lucid dreaming? We always want to distract ourselves. We always want to go to some other place to get some other thing to, ride on an amusement park ride. We want to go for a trip. We want to do this. We want to do that. It's just constant desire and complication. Okay? The path is to stop desire, to stop complication. No more complicated, no more desire. Just to sit and breathe and be aware at this moment, just to do good deeds at this moment. That's it. That's enough. Okay? That's enough. And that's the path. And if you do it good, you will find out what consciousness is. If you do it good, sure, you will have all kinds of lucid dreaming. No problem. But you should to do good deeds. That's what's more important. Okay, we have the question of Jay, who says, what is a good way to not be so harsh on yourself? For example, whenever I do something wrong, my mind's first instinct is to self-harm, when in reality, I know that I shouldn't keep doing that. Yeah. You can either be your own best bully or your own best friend. What sounds right to you? You want to be your own best friend, or you want to be your own best bully? So when you notice that bully mind come up, you need to step into the role of being your own best friend. You need to step into the role of saying, "Hey, wait a minute," and talk. You can talk to yourself, this bully mind, in this way. Wait a minute. I don't know who you are. I don't know what's going on here, but this is my best friend. This body, this mind, this moment, this experience is my best friend. I don't want to hear none of that anymore. And if you are going to be talking that way, I want to make sure you know that I'm not involved with that. I'm not following that. I'm not listening to that. I'm doing my own thing. I'm doing good deeds. I'm working to improve. I'm working to take care of my body and mind. Okay? So you've got to bring up that mind of being your own best friend and let that mind step in if your best bully comes along, okay? You say, "Wait a minute. I'm not getting involved with this anymore." But an important thing that helps this is to not be so self-focused, all right? So that we don't just do things for ourselves to give ourselves pleasure or gratification, but we do things for all. We do good deeds. We do to help the people around us, okay? And this relieves this empowerment that is given to this bully, this own best bully, when we're only focusing on ourselves all the time. Okay? Om Keli Om says, "What is your advice to get through a derealization following meditation, otherwise known as Zen sickness or dark night of the soul? Kindness, patience, simplicity." Okay, when you're going through instability that arises from meditation practice, you need to be a part of a community. You need to seek out advice from well-known advisors. And most importantly, you need to be kind, patient, and simple. Just relax, all right? It doesn't matter if it's a dark night or a bright day. Relax. Relax. Don't think too much. Don't run around to do anything. Just to sit, just to breathe, just to be aware. It's enough. And be patient, and those different experiences will pass away for sure. You don't need to be so focused on them. They're not so important. What's important is patience, kindness, gentleness, a community, support. Talk with people who can give you good advice, and to know that there's a lot more power in goodness than there is in anything else. So if you can do good deeds, your goodness will be powerful. You won't have anything to worry about. Someone said, Om says, "Could you describe what an absorption meditation practice as in jhana would look like?" Yeah, it looks like you're in a deep state of peace, and your only focus is on peace, and your only experience is peace. Simple. Okay? And something like, uh, simple example I often share is, okay, so about when we say we haven't really woken up yet. We're awake, but we haven't had our coffee or we haven't had our shower, whatever. We're awake, but we're groggy. We're like in a fog, right? The clarity is not there. The brightness of our mind, the presence of our mind is not really there, right? So, in that way, when we get into deep meditation, our awareness, that clarity increases more and more. And you know about this increase because you know about when you first wake up and you're tired and you're sleepy, you're exhausted, you don't want to do you're just in a fog. And then who knows, you go for a jog or you take a shower, you have a coffee, whatever it is that you do that and you're more awake, you're more aware, you're more alive. The mind is brightened, right? A brightness comes to the mind. You're really awake. So in deep meditation, that happens. The mind becomes more bright, more aware. You're more you in terms of clarity, right? We say that I'm not really awake because my clarity isn't there. My brightness isn't there. Then as you get more bright, it's more you, or it's more in relation to your understanding of what's true, right? So in a deep meditation, in something like a jhana, which just means deep meditation, it doesn't mean anything other than that, you may have an experience of more clarity, more brightness than you've ever had before in your direct experience, and there won't be a body there. So that's one example of what a kind of deep meditation can look like. That's something that can happen. But we don't need to chase after those things. We need to chase after doing good deeds. And we don't need to chase after doing good deeds. We just need to find a way to do them. Okay? Do I have any tips for school bullies? Try to reach out for help. A big thing that I think is not used enough is to really say to people, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what I don't know what, and just to say that, to embody that, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you're here. I have nothing to do with you. I am not involved. I don't know who you think I am. I don't know what you're, to really take that big step back and to let them know that you are not involved with what they're talking about or what they're doing. This can be a really powerful practice, I feel. So some bully comes up to you and says, Bowser from Mario or something. You say, hold on, I don't know what's going on. Who are you? Are you talking to the right person? You might be mistaken about what's going on here, who I am, or what's going on here. Take that big step back and let them know, kind of illuminate for them that you are not involved with them and that they don't know it. They don't know about you and you don't know about them. I think this can be a powerful practice, and also from that place of detachment, from that place of uninvolvement with that bully or that strange person, right? Talk to a teacher, talk to someone who seems like they've got a good head on their shoulders and say, look, I don't know who this person is, but they've been following me around and weird things are going on, and just let them know about that situation. And I think if you do it that way, things will get resolved. But we really have to be willing to take that step back and say, wait a minute, I don't know who this person is. I don't even know why they're talking to me. And to kind of take this position of independence. And then reaching out for help is also very important. And be careful, be skillful, be gentle in that whole process. Charlie says, how does one start to love or forgive your enemies or those who have done you harm in the past? Understand that people acted that way because they were suffering. People acted that way because they were in darkness. And to harbor anger or, a weightiness about what you experience with that person is just going to weigh you down. So it's a kind of freedom that you give yourself to forgive, to let go, to accept that experience, that person, that situation that came up. And it's worthwhile to forgive your enemies or those who have done you harm for you, not for them. It's all, I'm sure they can also appreciate that, but it's really not for them that we practice that kind of forgiveness. It's for us so that we can release and restart and refresh and start from now, start fresh in our lives. Okay, so we're about to wrap up here. We've got two final questions. Om says, could you describe the multiple levels? No, it's not important. People who focus on levels of meditation are rarely successful in their practice. It's not important, and it's not how it works. The only place where you are to focus on levels is when you are staying at a meditation retreat center where there is a teacher who has experience in deep meditation and is instructing you according to that. And even in that situation, you're not emphasizing levels of meditation. You're practicing deeply. That is emphasizing deeper levels of meditation. So this whole idea of kind of passive observers of spirituality, focusing on states of jhana and deeper states of meditation, levels of meditation, it's not really realistic. The truth is that it's much easier to convince ourselves that we are enlightened rather than being enlightened. It's much easier to convince ourselves that we have experienced first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, rather than actually experiencing them. So many people convince themselves that they have experienced deep levels of meditation when they actually haven't. Why? Not because that person is, strange or odd, or, they have a problem. It's because it's easier to do that. It's extremely, exceedingly difficult to experience deep meditation, to become enlightened, right? To liberate ourselves, to liberate the body and mind, to experience freedom and total peace. But what is not difficult, what is easy? To convince ourselves of all kinds of different things. So naturally, not because a person is good or bad or right or wrong, but because it's easy, people do it. If it's easy to do, many people do it. So you don't need to focus on levels of meditation. You need to practice, and that is, you need to do good deeds. What dimensions of living constitute a satisfying daily routine? Jay Sohi, do good deeds for others. You need to find a place to volunteer. You need to find a homeless shelter. You need to find an old person. You need to find a sick person. You need to find a child that you can be a role model for, that you can give advice, that you can be kind, that you can be patient, that you can be gentle. You need to find a place to go for a walk and feed birds, whatever it is. Find a way to do good deeds, to bring benefit to the world that's not about you. And that constitutes a satisfying daily routine. One event, one activity a day where you go out and you do good deeds for other people. You do good deeds for all. Okay? Alvi says, should one learn how to defend oneself from physical harm like martial arts? Not necessarily, because the real problem we have is not from physical harm from other people, it's harm from our own unskillful activities, bad deeds, our lack of doing good deeds, more so. So find a martial art of doing good deeds. Find a martial art of being generous. Find a martial art of being kind. Find a martial art of being patient. This is going to bring you far much more benefit and protection than learning some kind of fighting style. What advice from John Sawyer says, what advice would you give to someone raised in a fundamental tradition who mistrusts religion but still seeks to benefit from spiritual practice? Listen to Ajahn Brahm, listen to Thich Nhat Hanh. These are, Ajahn Brahm especially is a high level meditation master, teacher, and representative of secular Buddhist philosophy. And he does that as a monk. So start to listen to some of these people that are great, wise teachers representing Buddhism, and listen for yourself, experience for yourself. You don't need to become a Buddhist to listen to a lecture from Ajahn Brahm. You just need to click and watch and listen. And then you will see if this is something that connects with you and makes sense to you or not. But the practice of doing good deeds and being aware of what's happening right now does not have religious connotation. So there's nothing for you to mistrust. It's just for you to practice bringing benefit to the lives of other people and to be content, to be aware of what is happening right now. Might be a tension in the body, might be a feeling of a foot, might be a feeling of a breath, can be all kinds of things. So be aware of what's happening right now. Don't be involved with religion. Morgan says, could you share some things you've been learning today? Yes, I can and I have. and I will continue to do so. You don't need to worry about following this teacher or that teacher. You need to worry about doing good deeds and being aware of what's happening right now. Be aware of the breath, be aware of the body. Okay, so we have come to the end of our session. I'd like to give a deep thanks to everyone for participating. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your sharing. This has really been a wonderful event. And it's been a wonderful event because of all of you and your participation, your questions, your sincerity, your showing up. So I want to express a lot of gratitude to everyone who asked questions and to the entire community who is gathered here. I'm very appreciative. So we will wrap up now with just a short Buddhist chanting, okay? And then we will go on our way to do good deeds and to be more and more aware of what is happening at this moment, okay? So let me just make sure my microphone is opened up so that my chanting won't be suppressed by noise cancellation. So give me a moment here. Might be some extra noise that you hear when I turn the noise canceling off. And also for anyone watching on the Discord, this lecture, this talk, Q&A has been recorded, so you're welcome to go back and listen to it and to share it with others who might be interested. Okay? So this chanting is really to bring up and to bring to mind the Buddha mind, the peace mind, and also to take refuge in the Buddha mind, the wisdom teachings, so like Buddhist teachings or skillful teachings, and also the community. So we know about a community of suffering, we know about a community of unskillful people or people in need, but there is also a community of well-minded, sincere practitioner, people who have a wisdom in their body and mind that they really embody. So we will go ahead and do this chant, and you're welcome to bring your hands together with me as you listen. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham saranam gacchami. Tutiyampi buddham dhammam sangham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi buddham dhammam sangham saranam gacchami. Sadhu. Okay. Thank you all for joining. Be happy, be peaceful. try to do something to benefit those who are around you, and try to be aware of what is happening right now. Just breathing, just being aware. That is the path. Thank you for joining. See you again soon.